Ha! Buster Keaton's silent film given IRL sound effects by IRL bike crash. Also, he was the king of stunts, so yeah. It's funny that this all kicked off because of a car, but in this movie especially, John shows no real love for any car. Also, let's not mess around this time. That was brutal.
My f***ing nephew killed a dog. He stole a car. It is John Wick's car.
Oh. You know that when the guy who chips dudes on a whim is nervous, the guy coming for him is no schlub. Also, Peter Stormare getting us caught up on John Wick Chapter 1? Yes, please.
He killed my nephew, my brother, over his car. You think it will stop now?
You think he's about to say we need to take revenge, but really he just knows giving the car back won't matter at this point.
He's a man of focus.
And yeah, I'd say taking a lit cigarette to the hand is a sign of focus.
Killed 3 men in a bar.
With a pencil.
Who the f*** can do that?
Of all the fantastic things this movie does, answering that question concretely is possibly my favorite. Still loving those stylized subs. You can feel the bold red in John's voice. Just a little crack in the glass. If you're really careful, I think the car will still be foul. Still not that bad. Oh, never mind. Apparently, they had 2 of these Mustangs in the first movie and weren't allowed to smash them. I'm guessing they had different allowances in this one. But also, yeah. Ingenuity. Done in camera. I don't even know what to call that. Handbrake, check, or swat, slam. And here we go with minimal cuts. You'd think they paid their editor by the razor. Goodness. I mean, yup. You've just been jonesed, or indeed. You can tell he's sort of tired of the killing at this point. He's just knocking these guys out. But when in Peter Stormare's house, and just when you thought John Wick was being a little petty after all the credit I gave him in part 1 for not being petty to the point of destroying the very thing he seems to be trying to take back, you realize it was about more than that. Likely the last birthday card from his wife. Subtle, but obviously he doesn't even hesitate to let the dog into the bed this time.
Right, and I don't know if you noticed, but you got a crack in your windshield.
More John Leguizamo and Parabellum. There's a little motif in this film of characters being seen in reflection sometimes when the camera can't see them yet. I love it. Italian guests get espresso even if there's coffee already made. John's a real stand-up hired murderer.
And the dog, does he have a name?
No.
Good plan. Flower-related names don't seem to work too well. Hey, John Wick 2. 10 wins for not killing the dog. Art. It's just art.
You working again?
I really couldn't come up with a reason to talk about Don Kiefer in the first film, but when you've been in charge of the news for as long as he has, you end up asking the same questions a lot.
Stay.
Even dogs know it's just better to do what John Wick tells you to do. That's definitely Morpheus' homeless guy. I guess butt grabbing is the new black? Well, there's a beautiful beard win. That's a painting of the Italian Civil War. Brother trying to kill his sister for power. It works.
How would you do it, I wonder? That woman's pen?
His cane.
Maybe his glasses?
My hands.
What a perfect way of revealing the difference between the Baba Yaga John Wick and who John Wick really is. The story is always about the pencil, but that wouldn't be the story John would tell. I mean, he wouldn't even tell a story. You're already dead.
What say you? Never want to waste words.
Just wait till you get him on the phone. Oh, and definitely don't bother trying to talk if he's about to kill you. Subway lights do flicker, but when you've got John Wick center frame surrounded by blue light, you know where he's headed and where his head is. Well, if you watch my video about John Wick 1. Yes, black tactile neck. Please put that on. Please put that. Yes! Ethan Archer, now John. Oh my gosh, I think I just fell in love with Chad Stahelski. He called it a tactile neck in the commentary.
Backup suit and the backup tactile neck.
Tactical turtleneck, Lana.
Archer.
The tactile neck.
Appropriate reaction. Think about it. You can make a decision, you can travel to the destination needed for the decision, walk the worn path, talk to the guy, use the code, and then somewhere along the way, one gesture, opening a box and seeing your past life, it clicks that you're back where you swore you'd never be again, and you snap. I can relate. Alright, it's an orgy of evidence that we're in Rome, but good on you for no location guard. Ha! Italian Continental. Likely to be Ezio's home away from home?
Jonathan.
It's just canon now that Continental managers call him Jonathan. A name that I don't think is even his name. I mean, John is its own name, and the nickname for Jonathan is usually Jon. And if you get Al Swearingen for the US, you've got to get General Esperanza from Die Hard 2 for Italy.
Sei qui per il Santo Padre.
You get the feeling that this isn't generally a concern for Julius, but why else does the best assassin that ever lived come out of retirement?
I'd like a tasting.
A fun thing about this scene is that not only do you need to understand all things assassin related, in order to keep up, you should also know how wine tastings go with a real sommelier, as well as what's in fashion and the important components of a bespoke suit.
Your past fondness for the German varietals.
Which is accurate. He used an H&K P30L and a Walther P99, although he just took that one from Perkins. Thing is, he actually used a bunch of Glocks in the first movie. But I don't really care. John Wick can have his secrets. I sort of doubt it matters all that much to John. He's used SIGs, Kimbers, Smith & Wessons. When you're John Wick, I don't think it matters all that much. He could use a 3D printed gun or worse, a Nambu.
I know you'll appreciate the custom porting.
A little pistol lesson for you. Porting is when holes are drilled in the top of the barrel so that gases can escape through the top and reduce the amount of recoil so the next shot is on target. Something John Wick would obviously appreciate.
Trousers.
Tapered.
How about the lining?
Tactical.
Love how everything can only go so far as an evening affair metaphor before you have to be specific. You'd honestly be better just getting shot and dying. People break ribs wearing body armor. Your insides would be mush after a night in this suit. Still, rule of cool applies.
Quite painful, I'm afraid.
And a gearing up for the party montage is the fastest way to spend some much needed time with Peter Serafinowicz, credited just as sommelier. What a cast.
Bust. Precise. Dessert.
Alright, we're going to Rome. We really want to class it up this time around, but not lose the heart of John Wick. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Also, Tyler Bates on violin guitar. Love that John already knows the escape is going to be the real challenge. Apropos lyrics for what's coming. Also nostalgia, and Tyler Bates wrote a banger.
That blade you speak of was meant for their children. They were only meant to watch.
Feeling conflicted about John killing a lady? Well, here you go then.
Che farei senza di te, Casio?
Die. Pretty much die. Oh, that's freaking awesome. Another mirror reveal. Santino did say he needed
The ghost.
And I'll die my way.
kind of a theme in the John Wick universe, the JWU, if you will. Actually, no, don't, because that's really hard to say. But let's say it's downright Wickian, though Willem Dafoe still wins best going out on my own terms. Obviously, she was gonna die, and the movie had a chance to let John off the hook. But let's be real, John wouldn't take any chances that his marker wouldn't be fulfilled on a technicality. Not that it mattered. And also, they're in Rome. Suicide is a big no-no in Catholicism, so maybe he's actually trying to do her one last favor?
John?
Ooh, the way the music fades, almost as if it's John's senses becoming more attuned since he notices another assassin.
You working?
Yeah.
The honesty from these guys. Whether it's the code or just that they're honorable guys who respect each other too much to lie.
Good night?
Afraid so.
I mean, what would a spaghetti western be without a quick draw? Bulletproof suits make it Wickian. And the crowd goes wild. It's Rome, it's gotta be performance art. You know, modernized Colosseum reenactments or something. But now we're reminded why we're here. 55 minutes in, I might add. Bold move to hold on to it for half the movie. But we get a sweet long take right out of the gate. 13 seconds might not seem like a lot, but when most action scenes are 2 to 3 second cuts, you notice. So there's a fun shot you don't see very often. The press check. When you empty a magazine, the slide on the gun locks back to let you know the gun is empty. But John is changing magazines probably because he assumed he was low, even potentially counting rounds and leaving one in the chamber. So rather than pulling the slide all the way back, he pulls the slide back just a little to ensure a round is chambered and there's no jam. More realism. Yeah, look, it's John Wick. We're just mere mortals. Brush it off. Literally, he brushes off all the bullets he's taken. You can see them falling out. Long-range weapon, so he takes down a close-range goon to CQC. And reload while pinning the guy. And just the muzzle flashes on his face in the blue light. And placing his different weapons along his retreat avoided the loaded weapon gearing up scene. We even get some realistic shotgun reload time where he has to use his pistol in the meantime. Oh my gosh, this movie. You can't fake this level of skill without a cut. And sometimes you lose count. Also possibly as brutal as it gets. Look at that quick draw, even pulls his jacket out of the way with the other hand. Always changing the stage, this time using a row of cars as cover. Yup on that disarm. Another insane hand-to-hand fight from John Wick, and this time someone who is almost his equal. Although again, after John killed 4,936 people and got shot a few dozen times. So, equivalent to John Wick at, say, 35% maybe? Although I've gotta give Kamen some credit here. Wasn't expecting his level of judo jujitsu skill. Reloading with the back of your knee while being choked out. Achievement unlocked. It's not just the realistic shooting, the lore is so much fun in this movie. Two trained assassins respect the rules enough to sit down and have a drink after almost killing each other. Well, a contentious drink. But also, if you're questioning how they randomly ended up here, they didn't. John was headed back there when Cassian hits him, and then he was never really trying to kill Cassian, even throws Cassian's gun away rather than take it. He's just trying to get back to the Continental. Every man has his limits, obviously.
I'll make it quick.
I'll try and do the same.
Generosity. Double generosity. Blanton Special Reserve this time. Bourbon continuity.
If I didn't avenge my sister's murder.
He doesn't even give Santino the same level of dead air courtesy he gave Vigo. Here's another fun character-only scene and reflection scene.
What do you think he'll do?
Pretty much my favorite question when it comes to John Wick. Even the bullet-stopping fabric has limits. I like that. It's not magic. Whoops, spoke too soon on Brutal as it gets. And I guess the stories were true, although this was 2 pencils and only 2 guys. Okay, one of the very limited number of things that's ridiculous. Silencers do not work like this. But again, totally worth it for how spectacular this scene is of a shootout in a crowded terminal with no one the wiser. Oh, was that groin or femoral? Brutal, I don't like things. Hi, MTA. I'm not sure this qualifies as suspicious, but there's like a lot of dead bodies in the station. I mean, just a bunch, crap load of dead bodies. You wouldn't think 2 guys eyeing each other over a free seat on the subway could be so tense. As an onlooker, I always wonder when it goes from, oh man, these 2 drunk jerks are gonna go at it, to, oh I gotta get off the train before someone hookahs me to death. Or is it just more like, it's New York, let them have some space. Oh, brutal, but also hugging.
Consider this a professional courtesy.
See, this is why you should always be courteous. Never know when it might come back to you, in the form of a knife in your aorta. Furthermore, mercy.
Consider it a professional courtesy.
Hey man, you got a quarter?
Pure of heart Aussies don't like murder.
Mr. Wick doesn't remember, but we met many years ago.
And spent quite a bit of time on rooftops together.
So I guess you have a choice.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You take the red pill, and I kill a bunch of mofos. 7 rounds, 7 headshots, 4 seconds. So, better than nothing, I guess. While we all love to see John prepared and have the guns he needs for the job, even ones recommended by sommelier, really the best part about this entire fight is that he's out of bullets immediately and needs to take a gun from every magazine amount of guys he kills so he can keep on killing. Also want to give this electrified Vivaldi a little shout out. Upscale meets the frenetic JWU. No, see, I deleted that. We're not doing that. Also, ready? Let's count bullets. 1 plus 4 is 5, 6, 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 3 is 14, plus 2 is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and empty. Lots of bullets, huh? Probably seems like too many for one little gun. Well, it's a standard frame Glock, looks like a 17, which has had optional 21 round extended magazines. That's 20 in the mag plus 1 in the chamber. And if you want to be nitpicky, I'm only 99% sure this shot is from Wick, but even if it isn't, Glock also has 19 plus 1 magazines. Just call me Archer. But sometimes all you have left is a projectile. And never so much as a single wounded man left behind. And a John Wick favorite, shoot him low, shoot him high. First time I saw that I thought the Kimber had jammed, which is why he's checking the chamber all slick, but after counting his shots, I know he's just being a fancy SOB. And I love it.
Which will highlight the fragility of our perception of space and our place within it.
Good, just what you need when you're trying to mindlessly kill. An art exhibit holding up 100 mirrors and making you question your existence.
Possibly lead you to deeper reflection.
Another Aikido move, which is sort of ironic since Aikido is primarily a defensive art and John only kills everyone.
You wanted me back. I'm back.
And obviously the whole reflections thing goes into overdrive in this scene. I imagine this is a real exhibit, and I have to ask how many people either go insane or fall to their deaths in it. Railingless floating stairs in a hall of mirrors. I mean, I wasn't even sure who was where. John Wick really is a badass puppy avenger, I think we settled on. What was I saying? What was I saying about the stairs? It just takes one guy shooting you in the head and you're in trouble. There's something poetic about the mute assassin using a silenced pistol. Action in reflection again. He takes her gun and spare mags all in the mirror. I'm not even sure what's happening there. I think we're looking through John's eyes. It definitely falls under an impossible camera shot. So, win. One last reflection showing Santino enjoying more of the finer things with that plate of duck fat.
Yeah, Jonathan.
just like Yosef, doesn't even get his last words. Also comeuppance.
What have you done? Finished it.
And with the Kimber from Morpheus and his last stolen bullet, no less. Also, here's the other thing. John doesn't kill Santino in the Continental because he just can't control his rage. He was in the middle of a brutal fight with Cassian when they just stumbled into the Continental. This is getting to Filippelli, please leave me to me. At this point, he still had some stuff to do, so he respected the rules and stopped. But now that Santino is dead, John doesn't really care what happens. I think he may be ready to accept the consequences, even if he's not just going to lay down and die once the world is after him. Also, what option did he actually have? Play out what happens. He tries to wait out Santino, which is impossible. The guy has infinite money. All the while, Santino is taking over New York and keeps sending waves of guys after John, and he dies anyway. At least this way, Santino is dead, and New York is saved-ish. And one other thing.
My hands.
While some might think of it as a missed callback opportunity, I love it. John doesn't care how he kills someone. That was his point. It's that easy, but if he's got a gun in his hand...
He was a good dog. I have enjoyed his company.
Compliments.
Goodbye.
What a sweetie Charon is. Yeah, that's right. Someone stole your thunder, Shy Guy. Chris and Keanu and Ian did it better, too.
Whoever it is, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
Keanu Reeves is always a win. John Wick is a movie without need of a sequel. Genuinely, it's a complete story. I mean, you'd have to be a fool to try to follow it up. Chapter 1 also revolutionized the action shoot-'em-up, which you might say begs for a sequel because who doesn't want to see more of this? But it really didn't need one. The nice thing about a movie that basically made it up as it went along and relied on that new realistic action more than an overcomplicated narrative is that it should actually be pretty easy to make a competent sequel. But if I'm being honest, I think Chad Stahelski, Derek Kolstad, and obviously Keanu Reeves earned this sequel and then delivered above and beyond what we expected by expanding the lore, expanding the gunplay insanity, and giving us fan service that I really can't imagine a single person complaining about. You could argue that the realism was broken a tad, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but not in a way that destroys its own Wiccan rules. John Wick is impervious to cars, it's just a fact. He's also the king of anti-stormtrooper aim. Bulletproof suits work, and half of New York and probably half the world are assassins. Those are the rules they adhere to. But then there are some real-world rules as well that make these movies a combination of hyper-real and real like no other, like round counts, realistic fight choreography, and what pencils are capable of. At the same time, something added to Chapter 2 that I entirely love, and it could just be born out of necessity or the limitations of shooting in these fairly linear catacombs, but am I controlling John Wick right now? Is this a video game now, with different stages set up to be played with different weapons and a seemingly endless slog of faceless, nameless goons that you know are just spawning around every corner? I mean, we don't even always see them fully enter the frame as if this isn't John's first playthrough. What's fantastic is that it also works as the real John Wick gun fu movie because of course John is going to understand choke points and what level of fatigue he's going to be at on the way out, and what weapons better suit each section of these catacombs. I mean, he thinks about every placement on his way in. And for me, it's these combinations that make the movie work. Even the phone operators for the assassin underworld makes both like an almost historically accurate 60s aesthetic with switchboard phones, typewriters, and the idea of uniforms. But the uniforms are actually sleeveless, every single operator is tattooed, and oh yeah, they're filling out death orders. The absurd and the grounded. I can't get enough of it, especially when it's in service of expanding the lore. We all want to know more about this world. And then we've got them details. I mentioned reflections as a motif, but holy cow. It wasn't until my third or fourth time through that I realized just about everything is a reflective surface. And that's not easy. You have to realize that most every time you see both an actor and their reflection in the mirror, the camera operators need to be removed from frame, which is no small task. But they did it because it adds style and gives this movie a cohesive feeling that you may not even have consciously noticed. The color scheme is back. John is bathed in orange and yellow after killing Gianna because he wasn't expecting to run into Cassian and get shot because of it. But once he's in the catacombs, he's lit by his old faithful blue since he knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Doesn't always go his way, but he comes out on top in the end. They also colorize subtitles depending on which way the words lean. John wants peace? Blue. John being forced to do something he doesn't want to do? Red. You think you can get him? Nah, tealish blue. John gets double-crossed? Red. And then overall there's this neon noir tone that's just glorious. Neon noir, is that even a thing? And I don't even mind that you really can't compete with Chapter 1's catalyst for bringing John back. Originally he had agency, he chose to go on a rampage, but now he's being forced back in because of those decisions. It furthers that poetic justice we talked about in the first film. Does John deserve redemption, or freedom, or peace? Does he even deserve the life he has? Actions have consequences and he feels them in this film. While nothing will ever compare to what Yosef did in Chapter 1, I'd venture to say John loses even more in this one. He keeps his dog, but his car is destroyed, so is his house, and now all his physical memories are gone as well. He's no longer fighting for Helen, he's fighting because he fought for Helen.
I think you're addicted to it.
And in finishing it, he actually started something so much worse for himself. You could say it's very Sisyphean. That's right. I didn't need to make up a word because one already existed. Thanks, Dragish. You know, or we could keep saying Sisyphysical. Either way. There's no reason for John Wick Parabellum to be any good. But I have a sneaking suspicion that it just might be. Somehow Chapter 2 did it. Who are we kidding? It's gonna be awesome. Next week, another huge request that I promised many moons ago. You're probably thinking the moon thing is a tie into the movie, but it's not. I just felt like saying it.
Gas leak?
Yeah, gas leak.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan. Walk away.